Hello, all, and welcome to microChicago's whole series, or the whole series. It's the rebrand of our old school, what did we call it? Roundtables or postmortems. And we're super excited to be kind of leaning into some more of that Chicago theater history with an homage to Jane Addams and the Whole House, as well as Bob Sickinger. I could go on. We are here in what is actually our second. We have our previous interview with Transcript Productions. Check that out. And we are very, very excited to be welcoming two producers and creatives who are involved with 321 plays for trans futures. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first panelist, who joined us for the Brown Line a couple of months ago, and is actually the reason for this, because I could not. They mentioned it in that interview, and I could just it buried itself in my head. I was like, I have to remember to hit them up and chat with them about this and go see it. So without further ado, AC Wilcoxen.
Hey, yeah, I'm AC. My pronouns are they, them, and I am one of three directors of 321 Plays for Trans Futures, directing Movement 1 and collaborating on direction in Movement 5. And I am working with one of the other directors, who's Kost, and I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Kost. I use they and she pronouns, and I'm one of the three directors as well as a producer for 321 Plays for Trans Futures. I'm directing specifically Movement 3, 4, and then collaborating with the other directors on Movement 5 as well.
And my name is Dakota Pariset. I'm the creative director and one of the co-founders for microChicago, and I'm going to be your moderator today. My pronouns are he, him, his, they. It's so trippy hearing you all talk about movements and whatnot, because I have definitely used that terminology in my writing, and we're also leaning into an upcoming project, which I I guess I could say it's the Chicago Symphony, and it's very much structured in like releases by movement. So hearing you all talk about movement and everything, it's so I guess my initial question, right? What is 321 Plays for Trans Futures? Um, Chat a little bit about what makes up this, sounds like, these movements, and where's it going down?
Yes, 321 Plays for Trans Futures is a large experience and experiment in community and through theater and being together in theater, specifically with a lens and emphasis on the trans experience in all of its many, many different forms across many different spectrums and understandings. And so the entire play is called 321 Plays for Trans Futures. And the movements, as you'll hear it refer to, is a further breakdown of the pieces, because essentially what happened was we wanted to have a production, or do a production, I guess you could say, that involved as many voices as we possibly could. So we had a call out. Morris McLennan, who is the original writer of a grant, and this is a grant through the MAP Fund, received the grant, and then from there just like reached out to me and was like, hey, I don't know how to approach something like this. This is what I propose. This is what we got to do. What do you think? And so we had some conversations, and the mission originally was, I want to involve as many people as possible in this. I don't want it to just be one voice. And so, we could always have a call out that said, write about your experience, or if you have writing, send it to us. But I think that sometimes as creatives, it can be difficult if you don't give a container, and oftentimes containers or boundaries can bring a lot more out than just like a wide kind of net. So Morris broke down into 5 movements with thematic umbrellas for people to respond to. So when people submitted their writing, they could respond to all of them if they wanted, or they could respond to a very specific movement theme that then Morris looked at and curated and put the entirety. There's about 92, not about, there are 92 total pieces that have been chosen. Some of them are poems, some of them are plays, some of them are monologues, some of them are scenes, some of them are like musical performance art acts. So it is truly goes beyond the traditional sense of theater and is really about an experience within the like live performance world. Um, yeah, anything you want to add, AC, to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great synthesis of how it came to be. And I think the other part about it that is embracing that spirit of multiple voices and being very inclusive is that there's, on top of the ensemble of 6 that we have performing most of the 92 pieces, there's also solo performers that
Mm.
we asked folks who wrote pieces, do you want to perform these pieces or do you want someone else to perform them? And so some of the writers are performing their own pieces. Some pieces are going to be performed by solo performers that either we reached out to or reached out to us. And there's also pieces that are going to be able to be performed by audience members who we leave scripts out on the table and say, like, hey, if any of these speak to you, choose them. And when that piece is up, there will be a projection that says, this is the number of the piece and this is the title. Please join us on stage, and then they'll get a chance to perform with us. And so it really is, as Kost said, and what I think makes this project so special, it really is about community and bringing trans and non-binary and our allies together in the same room for an entire day, just to come together and build community through performance. And that is really what's so special about it.
Is there a significance in kind of finding this particular time to do it, with it kind of being like a year-end situation, or was it just kind of how the grant and everything ended up falling?
No, so the 321 number comes from that is the number of souls that we lost, trans like souls that were lost due to violence in the year before the grant was submitted. That'd be
Mm.
2024, I believe. And so this is happening on November 20th, and it's only happening on November 20th because that is the Trans Day of Visibility, and we are going to be visible. So I think that in this moment, there's so many things that we could tie this to, but in this time and in this moment right now, what is so exciting and important about having being together is that it is about being together and it is about being in the room. And it's also about maybe even confronting one's own views on the different lives that people live, and how that is like just the different experiences that one can have. Because some of the pieces, I mean, are written by, again, the AC said, like allies. So not every single piece is written by a trans person or even involves a trans like lens. Although in the like academic and theoretical, we could totally find it there. But I think that that's the beauty of this piece is that it really does ask everyone to come together to celebrate, to sit in one of the movements is memorials, and to also sit in the uncomfort of how we view other human beings just for simply by the way that they identify or that they live. And then there's creation for survival. And so there's so many different understandings and ways in which people are expressing thoughts and feelings. And what better way to get such a wide range of understandings and views than coming together in a room, not online, not in anywhere, but a room, and then walking out with just so much more than maybe you walked into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, yes, that especially what you just said at the end there, Coast, like being together in a room and the question you posed, Dakota, about like why now too, in addition to the importance of Trans Day of Remembrance, Trans Day of Visibility, all of those, there's the sense of disconnection that I think so many of us are experiencing right now. And I was saying this to some of the Movement One folks the other day in rehearsal. The grand goal of this in a lot of ways is to connect, again, trans people, gender expansive people, and our allies together through performance. And I was saying, like, I feel so much more connected to trans community in Chicago now than I did before this started. And in that regard, whatever happens with this show, which there's a lot of unknowns, but that's the nature of the show. For me, it's already been successful because I already have attained the goal in a lot of ways that it set out to do. And so, and I think that does necessarily require that in person, in the same room kind of thing. And I'm really excited for us to get to share that then with more people.
Yeah, I love this. Just the community seems to be the word that I'm hearing a lot more of, and like
Mhm.
these breaking of traditional structures, which I totally fuck with. Where it's like we're not going to do a traditional play in a traditional space. We're gonna take ownership of whatever it is that we're building. And so like I love the idea. Also, I'm hearing so much about like, well, who is this for, right? If it's just a like the example, right, is if we're doing all of these plays that have to like that are talking about fascism, but we're playing them to people who are against fascism, right? And you need to actually take it to the people that you're trying to reach across, right? But there is still this space that requires a tending of our own garden, I guess. And I love, and even thinking about that, right? The privileges as a self identified cis white man, right? Some people don't have that. And the fact that you all have kind of built that in this space in the coming weeks, right? And that you're inviting people and then even extending it and breaking further kind of barriers by letting audience members perform. It's such a beautifully intricate, like, just organic piece. It sounds like you're all making. I
Me-
don't know if I asked this question. Are you, and I don't know if you're able to, but, or allowed to, but can you break down the movements for us? The structure of the whole 11-hour experience?
Yeah. So the 5 themes of the 5 different movements are as follows. Movement 1 is home. No, is homes?
Birthplaces.
Birthplaces. Thank you. Movement 1 is birthplaces. Movement 2 is homes. Movement 3 is memorials. Movement 4 is creation for survival. And then movement 5 is futures. And so through that, each piece within those movements has a tie to the theme. But beyond that, the actual structure of the day, this is something that I I always get so excited by, and when I was first approached by Morris, I was obsessed with this idea of like, how do you approach doing something in this sense? Because I think the biggest tie for me was it's about community and we want to be in community, and putting on something that is 11 plus hours long might actually scare people away. Or they might be like, I don't know when to come. So this idea of leaning into the movements was truly, this is one continuous piece and it's happening in the same room with the same setup, with the same resources. But we are treating these movements almost like their own shows, if you will. So the audience will arrive it's the Fine Arts Building downtown, and they're going to come in and they'll go up to the 7th floor and they'll walk down a hall where we're going to be. We'll also be throughout the building to help people get around. From there, they walk in, they're going to see a table with some scripts on it. They can read through those. And then when they walk into the room itself, the room also is a further queering of the theatrical experience. And it is in alley type seating and in the round, you could say. There's essentially 3 blobs of like audience spaces where they can sit, and everything else is considered a play space. And one of the blobs even goes up onto the traditional little proscenium stage we have in there to further just kind of erode this understanding that like this is a performance that you have to sit, in that traditional like kind of back and forth that is expected in a theater space. And then at the top of the movement, the 2 ensemble members who were treating as facilitators and guides beyond just performers have a speech, and they lay out the room, the rules of the room, the rules of collaboration, and the expectations of the audience. And then they begin the actual run of the show so that the audience is primed and ready to go and feels like they can understand how we're going to be an experience together. And so once that movement ends, the audience is invited to very quickly leave the room because it switches over into the next movement's team. And that includes the solo performers coming in. Maybe we do have to set up some certain things for the movements. And that process continues on throughout the entire day until the end with movement 5, where everyone who was on the project performs it together. So the day itself is a big day, a long day for us staff, and for any audience members who buy multiple tickets. But for the actual team, it was built so that it could be sustainable and that it could be done and performed in a way where it can meet people's capacity where they're at, and also the capacity of audiences. You know, oftentimes people who work in the industry and service industry can't ever make shows and performances. Now it's like, yo, we have our show starts at like, I think 11:30 is the first one. So there's no excuse now. Roll in, let's come see it. So that was also the goal there, was to just kind of to honor the different themes and movements and make it accessible to people, as accessible as possible. Maybe you only have a capacity to see one movement. Great, come see one movement. Maybe you want to see all 5. Good on you. Get tickets for all 5 of them.
Wow. How has it been? And which movements are you each working on?
I'm working on 1 and 5.
I'm working on 3 and 4 actually perform together. And so that's considered one performance or one movement. So 3 and 4 is the one I'm directing, and then 5 as well.
Awesome. How did you both get involved in your respective movement, or was it just kind of through the curation process that everything that you kind of clump pieces together, I guess? How was the full thing kind of curated, and then what gravitated you towards your specific movements?
The curation you can talk about, Kost. I can definitely say part of what gravitated me toward the movement that gravitated me, is that the right way to say that? I don't know.
Yes, it is. It is now.
It is now. Yeah, exactly. What made me drawn toward the movement that I have was I like the theme, birthplaces. I tend to write a lot about like where I'm from and home and that kind of thing. So movement 2 also appealed to me, but there was a lot of solo work in the first movement, and it was like there's a lot of short poems and kind of abstract ideas, and I just thought that would be really fun to work with, frankly. I mean, that was the thing that drew me in.
Well,
For 3 and 4, I was, I think, pretty drawn to, well, I advocated pretty heavily to put these 2 together because, I mean, logistically, 3 as a movement is shorter than all the rest of them. But also, memorials as a movement, it's hard. It can be hard to sit through because it is requiring that uncomfort of facing some certain realities. And these pieces cover so many different understandings of what memorial even means. And then creation for survival, I just thought it was so genius that followed. And I really wanted anyone who's coming to watch any part of the show, if they get tickets for 3, I wanted them to be able to stay for 4, as if it was not a requirement, but almost like a contract. Like you bought a ticket for 3 and 4, just because they complement each other so well and talk about so much resilience. And within those 2 movements, there was also a lot of scenes, and there was even some group scenes that I didn't even know how to even approach. And I was like, great. I love when there's something that I'm like, I don't know how I would approach this. It really excites me, and I jump in, and then I later regret it, and then I don't regret it after.
Right there with you, Kost.
I'm always like, ambition, let's go. And then 2 weeks later, when I'm faced with preparing, I'm like, what was I thinking?
the artist's way.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess to kind of start leading us into our microbites here, what was what's the word? What are some interesting or pleasant kind of discoveries that you've noticed as directors coming to, I mean, you're directing multiple pieces over this sort of larger scheme or entity. So what are some interesting challenges kind of to what you just spoke about, Kost? And then what are some pleasant discoveries, things that you found?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. One of the things that actually made me really want to work on this project, and Kost has heard me talk about this a lot, so I apologize for the repetitiveness on your
Oh, I
end.
love hearing it.
I always talk a lot about ambition, right? And how I want to see ambition in the things that people take on. And obviously, this is an ambitious project to try to do both in the terms of the scope of it being so large and the lifespan being so short, right? What entices me about that is it makes me think about like the queer theorist Jack Halberstam's The Queer Art of Failure,
Mm,
and how when we fail to be successful in the sense of heteronormativity or cisgender expectations or even capitalism by like, making a profit, that's usually when we find the the most opportunities for creativity and growth and expansion and connection.
mm,
And so for me, looking at this project, I was like, it's so ambitious, it's bound to fail in some ways, right? And I mean that in the queer art of failure kind of way, where we have the luxury of having this be a grant funded project. And so that's great. That means that we don't have to operate under the constraints of capitalism in the same way. And we're also, like Coast said, really trying to meet people where they are, both like in the ensemble and in our capacity as directors and people on the production team, and in the capacity of the solo performers who are coming in. Wherever their level of experience is, we're embracing it. We're embracing all audience members for whatever level their experience is, with that, goal, that stated goal of building community and being together and experiencing this live experience with one another with bodies in the room, right? And in that sense, what I mean by failure then is that it doesn't uphold this capitalist idea of like a perfect show. It doesn't
mhm,
uphold this cis normative or heteronormative idea of like performing our gender perfectly, right? And in that space of imperfection, that's where we get to build this community. That's where we get to find creativity in a way that doesn't feel as constraining or as demanding. And I think all of us have honored that for each other, in the process too, where we've allowed each other the space to say, like, I'm not feeling well today. And, I'll step in, I'll help you. And I feel like, yeah. And I think, again, me saying that I feel far more connected to trans community now than I did before I started this, again, shows me that this process, this project, this experiment has already been successful. And I think we're just so excited and ready to have more people come and be there in the audience and be a part of this growing community.
oh, yeah. Yes to all of that. Uh, so awesome. I think as well, I was beginning to think through the challenges, I think logistically here were this understanding that we are not going to be in the room, the literal physical room, until actually tech, which is right before we do the show. So we have been rehearsing all over Chicago, and that has presented this personally for me, it's been actually kind of affirming because I have in my practice as a director, I actually take from improv, from Viola. I love to start with an impulse. I like to see where the impulse and the instincts come from the actor, build from there, and go from there towards maybe the direction that I was looking for. And so it's been interesting to change my approach even further to really honestly give containers and blocking that isn't me always saying it'll change, but rather the blocking that we've locked in with the ensemble and now some of the solo performers is blocking that cannot and is not tied to the room because we haven't been in the room. It's actually tied to the words and it's tied to what they were doing. or how they were feeling, and or how those words made them move, made them do something. And so that's been really affirming. The other thing that's been super affirming is I am a huge process person in terms of I okay, I'm just gonna be young here and just say something that I'm sure I will look back and be like, why'd you say that? I don't care about the end production. I've worked on so many different things. I really have. I've worked on huge shows with these huge companies that I have since walked away from and been like, well, I just lost a lot of respect for you because the process was horrible. There was no care on the process. And there's so many different levels to this, and every situation is different. But I always come back to this understanding that I believe in my heart of hearts that what we're seeing on stage in that final production is what the process was. Even if it's this most polished, beautiful thing, if that process was not something that the people on stage, the people who designed it, were able to show up and be there with, I just think that shows. And I think that it dulls what could be possible. So it's been something that's been really exciting and a little nerve-wracking to go through a longer process, as I set up the rehearsal to kind of, it was kind of like a rehearsal once every 2 weeks, which I look back, I kind of regret. I do think we could have done it quicker. So there's so much that I've learned already, even though it's not done. But through that, the understanding was like, I want to do this because we want to build a sustainable way to do something so big. We want these ensemble members to take other opportunities and still get to be a part of the show. And so there's pros and cons to a lot, but I think those are some of the things I've latched onto and I've taken away from, and some great positives that have come out of it is kind of this affirmation that, yeah, like to AC's point, what you all are about to see and witness and be a part of is what we've been doing. And that's why I'm also not extremely attached to any kind of finalized image. We have the structure we built together. We've been operating out of that structure. Everyone's had a hand in it, meaning we're all going to show up and just do what we can do to share that experience with everyone and invite them into the process so we can finish the process together.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, AC?
I was just gonna say, I mean, that's absolutely so gorgeous, and so I couldn't agree more. I feel like we haven't had a whole lot of like time as directors to sit and kind of talk about
No, not at all.
so I'm loving hearing you explain that and talk about it. I mean, I 100% agree. I think I always say rehearsal is the best part of doing any show.
Yes,
Um,
agreed.
like it's the best part. Like the show's fine, whatever, but the rehearsal.
Where we're
Um,
building.
yeah, we're building and we are building a world. And I think that is really what it comes down to, is that we have built this kind of world, this community, this experience together. And there is something about having to do all these rehearsals in all these different spaces, like what you're saying, Coast, that it just changes the dynamic. It means that we just kind of have to, yeah, be less rigid about like, oh, this person was supposed to walk in that direction, but you know what? Who cares? Like, as long as they're facing one of the audience blobs, like,
Yeah.
we're good.
I love that they're called blobs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and they've been called blobs the whole time.
321, the blob show.
Well, and something else I love too is that, to kind of your point, Coast, it's like you bring all of that by doing the show all over the city. You're bringing all of the city, that convergence, that celebration that you all will experience on the 20th. Like the whole city will then be there, even in some sort of molecular level, which is great.
Yeah.
And you have impacted that area by having been in that space for however long.
And something too, like to the point of failure as well. Well, yes, we're bringing so much of the city in, and there was always still an opportunity for more. There are voices that we still miss. There are that is always going to be true, and we're holding that truth in the room as well. There's people that are still didn't make it into the room for whatever the reasons may be, and if maybe those people are there, they'll talk to us, or maybe they won't. And that's the beauty of it as well. It's like it failed from its beginning in that sense as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, it's the art form that's always dying. And will continue. Oh, this is It's such a wonderful afternoon. Oh, it's been such a pleasure to chat with each of you. And honestly, I thought of this before we started the chat. I was like, I'm gonna have to talk to these folks afterwards because the thing will have gone wherever shows go when they're done, and you'll be on the other side of that. I'm so fascinated to know what that's like. So, standing rain check.
Yeah,
Oh yes,
I'm down.
hell yeah.
Always.
Well, we're here near the end of our lovely, lovely conversation. And what we do here in our now the whole series, are we do these little micro bites, which is essentially just our attempt at a lightning round. So I'm just gonna ask about 5 or 6 just sort of rapid fire questions. Um, kind of on your impulse, Viola Spolin, what's kind of that first thing that comes to mind? And it's just a way for us to kind of get to know each of you a little bit more. And then we'll have a nice little soft end. And I will gush because I like to gush at the end of these things. So are you both ready for our microbite round?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we'll go alphabetically. So we'll go AC Coast, Coast AC, AC Coast, and that like that.
Okay.
So AC, starting us off. Are you ready?
Yes.
What is your earliest Chicago theater experience?
When I was a teenager, my friends and I used to come in to the city and because as you know, I'm from like just west of here. And we would go to this restaurant that it does not exist anymore, I believe, called Ed DeBevick's, which was like the place where all the theater people worked, and they'd get up on the table and like make fun of you, and that was like the whole shtick. And then we'd go see the Neo-Futurists back when it was still called To the
Mm.
Light Makes the Baby Go Blind.
Wow.
So those
Yes.
were that, and we thought we were like the coolest, hottest things in the entire city.
Coast, same question.
My earliest, I'm from a really small rural town in the mountains in the Eastern Sierras over on the West Coast. And in the summer of 2017, I was just so privileged to get to come here and I did a summer program of theater. And we came into the city, official city, and I got to see the production of Her at Steppenwolf by Taylor Mack. And yeah, I walked out. I feel like I didn't remember anything. And then a year later, it all flooded back. And it was just because I was so floored, so taken aback that so many themes and theatrical things could be possible. And also, that was at that point, that was the biggest theater I had been in. So it was also just so incredible. It was such an experience. So, yeah, 2017, summer 2017 was my first
Oh,
Chicago, whoa, introduction.
wow. This has been in the back of my mind, Coast. But if you have HBO, either of you, I'll give you my login. But I think Taylor Mack's 24-hour like rock
Oh, is it?
concert is on HBO.
No way. Okay, cool.
And ever since, again, I've seen that and I've known about that for a while. So again, AC, thank you for introducing me to 321 plays for trans futures because it's just my brain has just been like on that line. Um, Coast, next question. First project
Mhm.
produced. Yeah, what was the first project you produced in the city?
Ooh, in this city, the first project I produced was a couple improv shows. So I went to college DePaul, and instead of like sports games, we would do improv shows. Every like weekend was our kind of way to do things and how we would network. So I was a part of a comedy club, and we had a improv team named Date Night. And once we got our footing, we started to produce some pretty big, fun college improv comedy shows. And it just began with my friends. And that's kind of where my practice as a producer really took off. So that would be I don't have the official kind of title of the production, but it was something where I was definitely having too much fun.
Yeah. How about you, AC?
Produced here or anywhere? I couldn't.
Both.
Okay.
Why not?
I did this show when I was like
or pick.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Oh.
I'll go with the young AC. I did like my master's show that I like took to a few fringe festivals when I was 25, which is like, I know. It's like so embarrassing now. I don't even want to say the title. Um,
What? No, it's not embarrassing at all.
but it was like this like feminist, sex positive, you know. It was fun. It was a romp. We had a really good time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool. Next question, AC. What's a highlight? We've already talked about so many of them, but what are a few highlights from the process so far, and what's something you're really looking forward to?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many highlights. I really love working with both Kost and Flores as directors. Like it's been such a joy, genuinely. One of my like favorite, like top 5 working experiences ever. But I also really, I mean, just watching the ensemble members that I've worked with closely, I think watching them become more confident over time is like absolutely my favorite thing. So like watching when you see an actor make a purposeful cross for the first time,
Mm,
like in a scene or in a piece after they had maybe been like doubting themselves more, it's just like a really rewarding experience.
Yeah. How about you, Coast?
I have to agree. The collaboration has been incredible. But more specifically, the conversations outside of the collaborations, just like, me and AC have had so many great conversations right before rehearsal about our personal lives or after we've gotten to know each other so much more. Same thing with Flores and then some of the ensemble members. It's just been incredible to get to know people in their artistry beyond this project and also them as human beings over time as we've started to, I mean, really, we've been in each other's lives now for much longer than most processes take. So, yeah.
And that's something I love too. It's just we're so conditioned to 6 weeks, 6 weeks, like 2 to 3 week run, 6 weeks. Like to hear that it was a year is just so wow. Um, Coast, what was, and it's probably tied to the festival or to the experiment, but what was the last piece of text or script that you were working on writing or reading or
Oh, like in the immediate?
just in general? Yeah.
Um, yes, the 321 plays for Trans Futures, and then the other, actually just today, I'm a part of a festival, another one that's going up literally right before this one
Oh,
on which I'll talk about in a second, but on the 14th. And so I'm working with some artists here in Chicago and then in Mexico, and it's a collaboration and exchange between our two countries. And so I was working on helping to ensure that the translations were going well, just because translating art and poems is not easy. So we're, making sure that the translators are people who are versed in poetry and art and are honoring the whatever the poem may be in either of the languages. So that's actually what I was working on before this.
awesome. Awesome. How about you, AC?
Yeah, I'm trying to actively slow down how many things I juggle at one time as I get older. It
Right?
becomes harder and harder. So I am I respect the multiple juggles, but I am having to acknowledge my age some days. I mostly have been working on trying to I have a piece in movement two that I wrote. And so I've been trying to get that converted to memory so I don't have to use my script when I perform it because I prefer not to use a script. So that's what I've been working on.
Awesome. Oh gosh. And what is one thing that you're looking forward to here at the end of the year?
Honestly, I'm looking forward to having coffee with Coast and or Flores and not have it be about work.
Yeah.
Or have it be about new works potentially.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that the same thing. AC, you said it earlier, like, oh, I'm realizing we haven't talked that much outside of. I'm really looking forward to getting to chat with you and Flores just about this and our lives after this, which is also kind of me saying, it's okay, and I'm leaning into this idea and understanding that I'm excited to share this and have it be out there and be out of just our minds and our circle. so that it's just free to go and it can fly. So that's what I'm really looking forward to, is like being in the aftermath of that.
I bet you both sleep like deeply for like weeks or a month afterwards. Well, again, I've just been so looking forward to this conversation, and I look forward to making it out on the 20th. Um, for some portion of them. And yeah, thank you again, both of you, for sharing a little bit of a Saturday afternoon in November to chat about 321 plays for Trans Futures. Thanks to folks who continue to check out our ongoing series. We now have a name, the whole series. There will be more. And hopefully more with both of you. So thank you again so much. And in addition to November 20th, beginning at 11 a.m. at the Fine Arts for 321.
Yes. Oh, sorry, I should have confirmed that.
No, you're all good.
We have
But
so
in
many things.
addition, we can plug that right at the end here. But in addition to that, where else can folks see your work? You kind of mentioned Coast, but what's coming up individually here at the end and going into the new year?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Where can folks see more of your work and when?
Yeah, I have a couple things. I'm a producer for a comedy poetry show called Giggle Hour. It happens every month, the first Tuesday of every month at the Lincoln Lodge. And so I'm oftentimes performing original new work. And then I am a part of and the director of the Lit and Loose live magazine show, which happens at the Museum of Contemporary Art every year. And it is part of a larger festival in which we celebrate literature and art in an exchange of language with Chicago and Mexico City. So the first week is actually this next week, November 9th, tomorrow, all the way until the 14th. And then if you happen to be in Mexico City, we will be down in Mexico City March 16th through the 21st. And we'll be doing it all over again, all down there in Mexico City. So please come out and see it. It's new and original work, very similar to this project, and with artists from Chicago and Mexico. It's awesome.
Cool. How about you, AC?
That is awesome, Coast. I am kind of trying to take some time to reset and focus a little bit more on some writing projects I've been putting on the back burner. But I'm hoping to maybe get some of those put out into the Chicago public within the next like year or so. So, in the meantime, you can check out my website, acwilcoxen.com. It's so weird to say, but there it is.
Yeah, just say it.
Plug away, plug away. Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll aim to get a link in our comments for that. But again, as far as I know, and we'll also have that information in our details. But 321 plays for Trans Futures will be playing at the Fine Arts Building on November 20th. And follow all the links in the comments to get the information. And be sure to check out one or all 5 movements that day. Coast, AC, thank you both again one more time for joining us. And I'm so serious. Post 20th, I would love to jump back on and get y'all's, bring on Flores, whoever else would like to join. It'd
Yeah,
be
we
cool to
gotta
do a
get her
round
in.
table to chat about your all's experience. But thank
Absolutely.
you so much. And break all the legs.
Thank you.
What's
Thanks.
321 times 2? All those legs.
642
Legs.
Don't quote me on that number. Don't quote me on that number.
When I ask a bunch of artists to do math, like I know it's
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much. And we hope you join us again for microChicago's The Whole Series.